Man is towel dried and ready to talk about Beyonce writing creds on new album Lemonade. Hi, I'm Sean and welcome back to Moonshaped Music. Beyonce dropped an album called Lemonade last week with an accompanying HBO film-like series thing. Despite the restriction of Tidal, I've been able to listen to it through iTunes Store. And we are going to review this album in full next week, but first of all I want to talk about the writing credits on this album. We're going to be looking at the people involved in it, because there's a whole load of writers from the alternative world that have shown up throughout the album. And we're also going to look at whether this attitude where we turn up our noses towards some writing credits on these big albums who have, huge lists. There's that infographic with Freddie Mercury on one side and Beyonce the other, one writer, one producer, and Beyonce had like 17. But we're going to look into that and show how that's not all that it seems. That's not the reason why there's so many writers. But first, let's have a look at who's on the album. So the song that attracts the most attention is Hold Up. Mainly because it's a really great pop track, but also because of the credits on the writing list, which include Ezra Koenig from Vampire Weekend, Diplo. It includes Father John Misty and Yeahs. Koenig's also on production here, but he has that writing credit too. And you can really feel that sort of buoyancy that he sort of innately possesses that comes out in the Vampire Weekend material. And he said he was working with Diplo in the studio. He did give an actual explanation as to how he ended up working on it, which is really interesting. And we got Diplo providing that sort of tropical sort of feel. And I know he wants a bit on the Justin Bieber album, and I think that turned up there too. And also Father John Misty, because he has actually explained now, so we're going to get to that in a little bit. Elsewhere on the album, you got James Blake providing, helping Beyonce open up the world of Lemonade to him on the first track. You got a little interlude that he provides later on. Jack White is featured on the track Don't Hurt Yourself. Also in those writing credits are Led Zeppelin, and it turns out there's a sort of sample taken from a song called When the Levee Breaks. So it's great to see these alternative stars turning up on albums like this because it gives them exposure and also incorporates a wide scope of interest. Ezra Koenig did tweet yesterday and told people about how he ended up on the album, talking about why the Yeahs are credited. You Don't Love Me Like I Love You, which is obviously taken from Maps in 2003. And when you see people being credited for just a line in a song, it does show how these pop stars operate. Essentially, they need to be able to cover themselves, because obviously they rake in a load of money. If there's any similarities whatsoever, people are going to jump at that. I think that was most famously brought out by Coldplay with their Viva La Vida lawsuits with Joe Satriani, and a whole host of other bands came forth claiming that they nixed the material. And ever since, Coldplay have taken a stance of crediting lines of songs such as, I think, Up with the Birds is credits to Leonard Cohen, because it takes the first bit of Anthem and puts it in it. So it sort of gets to that stage where you have to even flag up your influences on albums. Is that the way the future's going to be? Particularly with the money pumped into these albums, obviously it's going to be more prevalent on those sort of features like Coldplay and Beyonce. But I thought it was quite interesting that it's turned into that sort of game where you really do have to cover yourself in that way. People like Led Zeppelin reside in a time where, obviously they did nick stuff, but that's the way that music works, really. You sort of nick stuff, take your own. Even David Bowie said the same thing. Even David Bowie says the same thing. You can notice so many similarities, but he just makes it into his own. That's what Beyonce's done here. And later on you see other writing credits like Burt Bacharach. You can't really draw any direct inspiration, but there's probably something there, maybe a melody line or a lyric that has just been adjusted to fit Beyonce's track. Also, the sort of bizarre thing of Father John Misty, you'd think that would be a similar thing, like she'd had a melody line, but no, he actually did write the verse and the hook for the song Hold Up. But he did tweet the other day that he woke up with in an unmarked car with a band-aid on my temple, a slight metallic taste in my mouth, and a Beyonce writing credit. But it turns out he was actually sent the demo to write over. Obviously it had gone through Koenig and Diplo and thrown around. And then he said a friend of his, Emil Hain, who brought out an album with Father John Misty and Julia Holter featuring on one track. He said he played Beyonce some of his music. They sent it over to him, and he said he got a bit carried away. Basically, he started writing the melody and the actual hook of the song. And it turns out he actually went down to his set at Coachella last year and told him that she was going to use his work on the album. I think that's pretty cool. It's like, it really does show like we live in a world where we do live in a world now where people are accustomed to a variety of genres. And it's really nice to see that turning up on an album. And I think that gives albums like these more universal appeal. When he's, this album in particular embodies this attitude of pulling from a pool of writers, But most impressive, that the sort of track that leapt out to me was Don't Hurt Yourself, which you hear Beyonce being really gritty and, I don't know, it's a fantastic song. But as I say, we're going to review it track by track next week. I'm going to get one of my friends who don't really like Beyonce, probably never heard an album. I'm going to get him to listen to it and give his response to see if he's won over by this. But which writing credit are you most surprised about? Is there any I've missed out? What do you think of the album? Let us know. Thanks for watching again, guys. Please comment below, please subscribe, get involved in the conversation. And we'll be seeing you later on in the week. Thanks very much. Bye now.